Good evening, one and all. In today's lecture, we will continue our discussion on Java Server Pages JSP. In this lecture, we will see that how we can validate whether the user who is trying to log in is the true valid user or not. Means whether he is a registered user or not. And for this, you need to pass data from one page to another page as well. And also we'll be using this, we'll be implementing this for a login portal. We have seen the sign up portal last time where we are storing data inside the database by performing the SQL insert operation, which is a DML operation, that is data manipulation language. And now we need to see that about the data validation, that once we have to select the data from the database and compare it with the data which the user is entering at the front end. Okay, so the user will enter his username and password, and we have to check whether that user exists in the database or not. Means whether that password and username is present in the database or not. And if he's the correct user, is a true user, if he's the authorized person, then we have to log in him. Means he has to go to the next page, that is the login page. If he is not, then you can display a message that invalid user. So before that, we need to see, I'll just run this application and show you. It takes some time for the first time. The server is starting over here. Okay, so I've done some updation as well. You can see here the social handles. Is this visible? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and for the user to understand that this is clickable, means once you click on this, you will be redirected to the organization's Facebook account, means the Facebook page or Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube channel. So when you hover your mouse over this, I'm just switching the colors. Like you can see, background color is white and the actual color, front color is blue. But once I move my mouse over that icon, the background color becomes blue and the front color becomes white. That is background color and foreground color. So that I'm changing here so that the user knows it is clickable. So such things are very handy, and if you want to make the user understand that it is clickable or not. And the cursor also, the shape changes. So now already there is a user with the username updated and password is also updated. Means the username is UPDATED and password is also the same thing. And when I click on submit, since he's a valid user, you can see the name of that person is also updated only. Okay, I'll show you the database, then you will understand. It will take some time to start. So since this user is valid, he has been able to log in. And if I hover my mouse over here, you can see that my name over here, this tooltip updated. It is called as tooltip. Means once you hover your mouse over that, it shows you what that actually means. And here, if he has any notifications, I've like for now I've made a dummy value, like 10 notifications are unread. And there's one logout feature also. When you, this is a sidebar. When you click on this, it opens and you can log out. Okay, so I hope the database is open now. I'll show you the data in that. And whenever you're starting your database again, means you're opening the application, always use database name, execute that, and then you go for select or whichever query you want to trigger. So select all from student. You can see updated. So that is why it was updated. Now let me log in with the first row. That is the username is Joel Silas 1816 and password is ADD. And the name corresponding is my full name and email is my email. So I'll once again go to the login and show you a good login this time. Like the username is Joel Silas 1816 and password is ADD. And the name over here in the database is what corresponding to this row. For this username and password, the name is Joel Christopher Silas. So I'll click on submit and that same name has appeared over here. Is it visible? After login, this name
Yes.
corresponding is okay. And similarly, when I hover my mouse over here, you can see that Joel is over there, means you can see that tooltip. And once you click on this, you can view profile or log out from here also. And from here, when you go and log out, it will log out. Before that profile, if I click from this page has all my details like name, email ID, phone number, all that. And those same details I'm passing to another page, which is the profile, which I've not yet developed. But you can see that I've displayed the details which are from the database itself. That means the correct values are getting inserted and selected from the database. And log out, you'll go back to the login page. So was the flow clear? Means is it understood by everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so you can develop something like this also. And so let us see how we can shift the data from one page to another. So in home page, that is your sign up and login page, I have to take the if it is a login, then I have to take the details from the database and compare it with whatever the user has entered at the front end over here. Okay, so here he will enter username and here password. This I will compare with the database values. And how I'll select the row from the database, select all the columns, or you can say all the data, or whichever you want, select data from the table where username is equal to what the user has entered and password is equal to what the user has entered. So I'll show you the code for that. So I'm once I log in over here, I'm doing the processing. That means the validation. I'm doing it on another page. So here you can see the login and sign up button. And once the submit button is clicked, I'm going to login.jsp page. And here when I come, I'm first going to check whether he's a valid user or not. How am I going to do that? When I'm going to, I have to first access the data from the front end. And that is by the help of request.get parameter, the LUname or LPass. Now, what is this LUname and LPass in the HTML page, this home.jsp? Here there is some HTML code. And over there, this LUname and LPass is mentioned. Now, this LUname and LPass, what it might be in the HTML page, can you guess and tell me? We have discussed this last time also. Here, can you see this LUname and LPass? What is it in the HTML page? Yes,
Username and password.
yes, but like it is the value of which attribute? Means I mean to say over here, if you see, here you have the LUname and LPass, which is the name, which is the value of the name attribute. Here also, this is the value of the name attribute. Name is an attribute. Similarly, placeholder is an attribute. Placeholder means when you open directly, it is giving you some idea that what you have to enter here. In gray color, password is there. It is the, it guides the user. It is not the actual thing that is written over there. Once I type anything, that whatever password was written goes away. It is a helper text. Here, whatever I type, that behind what you could see username, that goes away. So that is placeholder. It will help the user to understand what he has to type over there. So with the help of this name attribute, we are going to select that particular input field. I've told this multiple times. And you're going to store it in some string variables. And you're going to, as I said, select data from table where username is equal to the data which the user has entered, that is LU name, and pass is equal to LPass. Okay, so you will select that and then you'll compare it. What you'll do, you'll select data from the, this will, what it will do, the select statement, it will get the all the data corresponding to the row if the row has the username as this and the password as this. If the username and password is this and condition means both are true, if these two conditions are valid, then that row will be selected from the database. And while the data is available, you have to compare the column number. The column index is starting from 1. Okay, it doesn't start from 0. Here id is column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. So column 2 is what? Username, and column 5 is pass. So column 5 and column 2, you have to equals method is used to compare the equality of the strings with what the user has entered is stored in LU name and LPass. They are the string variables. So you're comparing, and if it matches, then I told you about session management last time. So in the session, you want to store some data. And once you store something in the session, as long as that session is valid, as long as it is running, that data will be accessible to all the JSP files of this project. I repeat, once the session is activated, and as long as it is active, as long as it is active and running, that data which you are storing in these, which you're storing over here, which you're storing in the session, that data will be accessible to all the JSP pages, means home page, login page, and other profile page, which are all the JSP files, or maybe even other HTML files, or whichever file you open. Over there, this data is accessible. So this is how you can pass the data from one page to another page. So here you're going to store all those four values, that is the four columns which you're asking. You're going to store it in the email, password, and all these strings. And once you go into the profile page, you're going to say session.get attribute. Here, what did you do? You did set attribute. And in the next page, to get the data, you're using get attribute. But always you have to typecast it back to a string or integer or whatever the data type is. In the database, here, all the data type is varchar only, means string. All the data types are varchar, that means string only. So that is why all I'm typecasting back to string. When you're storing the data, no need to typecast to string. But once you're retrieving the data in some other page, you have to typecast to string and store it in some variables and then display those variables. That is why you were seeing on the profile page, which is underdeveloped, there you are seeing the username, name, email, and password, because I'm displaying it. And out is an implicit object, which we have discussed last time. And if the user is not valid, this was if it is valid, if the user is valid, I'm storing a valid string which I can access with this string. Is valid is a identification for the actual value. Here the value is valid, and is valid is the identification. Similarly, here the string, that is the password, is the value which I can identify using this pass string identifier. So I hope you know this, you have understood it. So if valid is stored in is valid, then flag is equal to 1. So while this is true, at least for one row, it is expected that the value is matching. At least minimum, or you can say maximum, one row will get selected by running this query, that select all the data where username is this and password is this. So while the rows are being selected, if the password is and username is matching, make flag equal to 1. Then come out of the while loop. If the flag is still 0, initially it was 0. If you're getting the data, flag is equal to 1. But if you have not found the data, there is no such row in the database, flag will remain 0 only. Okay, I've initialized it over here. Flag is 0. If you're getting the data, then flag becomes 1. If you're not getting the data, flag is 0 only. And if it is 0 only, then you will store invalid inside the is valid string. And here in the profile page, you can validate. I've not yet validated whether is valid or not valid. So you can validate it. And here also in the login page, if it is valid, then only display all the HTML. Else, say incorrect password or whatever, something like that. That also I have to still implement. So is it clear how you can pass data from one page to another page? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so this was about passing the data, and that was about the front end, which depends on you how you are implementing it. Not compulsory as such, but it is definitely appreciated if you put in little more efforts and try to develop the front end also in a beautiful way. And if you know a good amount of CSS or Bootstrap also, suppose you know about Bootstrap, it is just copy pasting technique. So maybe there you will be able to develop the front end faster. And also I want to show you about the responsiveness of the web pages. So here I'm at my dashboard, and if the window size is small, means maybe you're viewing it on mobile or on laptop or whatever, accordingly the size of these cards, these are called, each one is a card. There are total 9 cards over here. So if the size decreases, you can see the cards are one below the other. Little more size of the browser window, this is my browser window, is increasing, then the cards are again aligned as before. And as the size increases, the text is also becoming, its size is increasing, font size is increasing. So if the user opens it on mobile or on laptop, no problem. So if you want to check the mobile view on your laptop, what you can do is inspect and then click on this icon, which is this mobile phone type thing. Click on that. It will show you for different mobile phones, as you can see here. You can test it. So even on iPads and all those things you can test. As you can see, for all the views, there's no overlapping, or everything is actually visible if you go to see. And here I clicked on profile and I've gone, and you can see the data over here. So you can test it for mobile views and click it again. You'll come back to the laptop view, I mean desktop view. Click it, you go back to mobile view. Click it again, you go back to the desktop view. Okay, and log out. Log out is simply to come back to this page. If I go back, I'm still logged in. That is because I've not yet applied the logout function. Once you log out, you should not allow the user to go back to the previous page. Okay, so that also has to be carefully done. So is this much clear? Any doubts till now?
No.
No.
Okay, so how many of you all are comfortable with designing the front end? Like a fair amount, not this good or even better is okay. But do you know how it works and how to design the front end? Do you know about HTML at least that at that level? Are you comfortable?
I am actually in the middle of learning.
Okay. Okay, so try to at least develop the front end as soon as possible, because backend will, maybe it may take more time if you're not able to apply the logic. But front end, at least start designing, and the counter has started from 29 December itself. And this is what you actually need to know about JSP, that is how to combine the front end as well as back end, and how to pass data from one page to another page. And preferably you do one thing, that if after entering the details you want to be on the same page. For example, I'll open the website again. See here, login and sign up is on the same page. These are not two different pages. So once I do the sign up, I need to come back on the same page, which will open over here. I'm on the same page even after creating my account, so that I can log in. So in such cases, your front end HTML as well as your back end, let it be on the same page. But for example, when you're going to do login, after you click on submit, you're going to some other page. So the logic for login, the backend part, let it be on that next page. Because I tried doing it on the same page, but it was not accepting that well. It was not recognizing the text. So maybe you need to place the text somewhere in some other place, or do it on some other page. Because whenever the front end is on one page and the logic is on another page, it works all the time, most of the times. But sometimes if it is on the same page, it may not work. It may not recognize that, say, initially this value is null over here. So it constantly keeps a track whether some value is being filled over here or not. So sometimes it is not able to recognize whether value is being filled here or not. So if this is null, by default, the value that will get stored in the string is null only. But once you type something, this updated value will get stored in the string at your backend. But sometimes that updation does not happen. That is why it gives you an error. Means you will get null as your content, though there is data in the database. So such times when you're going to some other page, or maybe even if you are on the same page, implement the logic on some other page using JSP itself, and in between little bit of HTML and JSP. But if you want, a recommendation is, if you, it may happen or it may not happen that you may get stuck at such points. So preferably try to separate your front end and back end. Otherwise, no problem, it will work on the same page also, but sometimes it may not work. And that may be because the position at which you're placing your Java and the position at which you're placing HTML. Because as you can see, suddenly there's HTML, then suddenly there's a bit of Java, again there's some HTML. So in some cases it may get confused, but you can try that out. Okay. So 29 December, already 2 days are over. 31st, 1st, 2nd. Okay, so maybe till 15th of Jan, you can try to submit the entire project. Okay, and those who have not decided how to do it, what to do, and are you doing it in a group or anything, decide that also fast. And maybe we won't have sessions in between. We'll have it little irregularly, maybe for your doubts or some advanced concepts, so that you get more time to develop your project. Okay, and if you know someone in your group among second year only who is enrolled in this Java course, preferably don't take help of those who are not in this course, only those who are there. If someone knows about the front end well, include him in your group. And if you know the back end well, you do the back end. So distribute your work so that the project will get justice. Any doubts? Else we can wrap up for today. And you can put your attendance in the chat box. And if no doubts, you can leave the meeting. Thank you. Now someone is joining.